Well, good morning. We wanted to take the opportunity here to speak with Howard Berger and Marshall Julius. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hello,
Good
guys.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning or good evening, right?
Good evening and good
Good
morning.
afternoon. It's
afternoon.
4:30. Let's not go crazy.
There we go. Well, so we shouldn't start the vodka soda just yet at this point.
That's right. This is full of vodka. So don't worry about it.
Fair enough.
Well, actually, we were big beta advocates. My dad was, and we still have a beta, and it still works, and we still have all the beta, every movie on beta. So we and it looks great. They look great for the most part. So yeah.
I still have Star Wars on the original Zoetrope, so beat that.
Whoa.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
You haven't seen it. It's not unless if it's got sound, it's bullshit. Unless it's like 12 still images.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
I have one of those Thomas Edison tubes that they still, you run the needle over it and it plays sounds and whatnot.
Okay, well, I've got a cave painting of the poster, okay, that was done 10 million years ago.
It
So
was like that Monty Python skit,
Yeah.
Oh, the luxury. You used to dream of living in.
you tell the kids of today, and they just won't believe you.
I'm not dead yet.
Yeah.
Fonzo, can you hand me some of the questions here?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So we're gonna
Yeah,
go.
come on, have some questions.
We do have some questions that like, do you have a stable job? Do you still live with your parents? Have you ever been on psychotropic medication?
Oh, wait. No.
Probably.
Marshall, do you want to answer all those? I think
That's,
that's
Wait. What kind of questions are these?
That's
I think
actually,
your psychiatrist asked you those.
yeah, those are questions for my friend for Match.com later today.
Oh, these are pretty good.
Yeah.
These are pretty good. Like, how many dates do you schedule in one evening, or do you like the nicknames Tiger?
No, wait. Okay, wait a minute. No. We need to move on to
Your
these
Tinder
questions.
profile.
Sorry about that.
So we've had the opportunity to interview and talk with authors in the past. We've had such classics as "I'm Okay, You're Okay," "Emergency Psychiatry," "World's Best Anatomical Charts."
That's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
So this book, Masters of Makeup Effects here, this beautiful, gorgeous, lovely volume here that we had the opportunity to pick up. We'll join these classics on the shelves.
It is an honor.
Well, we appreciate it. And I love the approach. Other books are very detailed, or they have these extensive interviews or how-tos and such. And you guys were
So
successful.
what you're saying is that our book is neither detailed nor extensive.
That's what they're saying.
I tell you the compliments, just like, please, calm down, okay? Ours is vague and doesn't have lots of interviews.
No, it's a great bathroom read. And
That's true. And that we actually wanted to serrate the pages so you could actually use them, but they wouldn't do that.
meaning it is chock full of photography and stuff that, and I love the approach, that people do not normally see. That stuff that's been, not out in the press, not stuff that you can find online and coming from people's collections and such. So that's what, in that respects, where it has the commentary, but it has all the photography to go with it as well. It's a lovely volume. And some of the interviews we've seen, you mentioned, Howard, that you gathered in excess of 4,000 photos in preparation for this.
Yep.
So it sounds like some of the thoughts are there for continuing the volumes as you move forward, maybe having part 2 or part 3, volume 3.
I mean, we're hoping. Hopefully, we'll know more in the next week or so. But yeah, we're hoping to do at least another volume. Volume 2, which won't be a rehash of this. Like, oh well, we have tons of this left over from the first book.
Mhm.
We'll do all new interviews and everything, and all new photos, and perhaps out of that 4,000 photos, we used 1,000 in the book. The 3,000 excess perhaps will make it into volume 2, but we'll see. We'll just have to see who we end up. Our list is very, very long for volume 2. So we'll have to pare it down like we did on this one. We would have loved to have interviewed 100 people. We ended up interviewing 67 people, and that was because we needed to, we only had so many words, and we didn't want to have just like Kazu to have one line. We wanted to hear more, so we knew we had to limit who we spoke to, even though that was a very difficult decision because there's a lot of people we didn't get a chance to talk to. And it wasn't because we don't like them or anything like that. We love everybody and we'd love to have everybody involved, but we just had to, we had to edit our grand plan just because of the limitations that we had.
Yes, and it's over 300 pages, chock full of insight, wisdom, commentary, comments, and it comes from a vast array of not just special effects, makeup, but also the actors and such like that. And that's the beauty of this book. It provides that uniqueness of that type of response from these people. I thumbed through and went from cover to cover here. I was a little surprised. I was looking for some insight on Boogie Nights and the prosthetic penis.
I know where this is going.
And word is that Mark Wahlberg still has it. Did you bring in models for that?
That's the question you're gonna go with?
well,
That's when Howard
that's-
first met
that's-
me. We pretended it was Narnia, but actually it was when I came in to provide the original mold.
That's what I was
Diggins'
wondering.
penis.
That's where he's getting at, I think.
Well, we weren't available at the time, so
There you go.
we couldn't make the trip to LA and
No,
such.
it had to be a big penis.
So for the materials and molds that it's made up of, how do you preserve something like that? Shellac, spray, hairspray?
I think Mark just put it into a box that has a like a glass container on it. So it's, as long as you don't keep things in sunlight and away from dust and things like that, and he has it like in a safe or what have you. So it should be good. I mean, last time I saw it, which was a number of years ago, it still was in pretty good condition. So but yeah,
he's not driving up to like fast food restaurants, leaving it hanging out the car window and
no.
ordering.
And it's actually not that big, tell you the truth. It's like when we did the film, Paul Thomas Anderson, who wrote and directed it, obviously wanted to have a large appendage. And so we sculpted a 12-inch one. Which seemed large to most people, not Marshall, but other people. And and then we tested it and it was too big on Mark. So Garrett Immel, who's in the book as well, who's a great makeup artist and sculptor and designer, and he applied that makeup on Mark on set, and we ended up having a 7-inch appendage. So that was the gist of it all, and yeah, so it's it's average size, I would say, but it was the way it was executed says it all. And
the reason I asked that question is, as monster kids and fans and collectors, Marshall, the vast array that's behind you is beyond impressive. And same thing, Howard. Would that be your office, or would that be
my office? Yes.
Nice.
So yes, this is stuff in my office.
It's just the amazing of the collections. I have to tell you, I don't know if you have maids or how long it takes Howard, probably a month to go through and dust everything, I would imagine.
Yeah, it takes a bit.
So Mark held on to that treasure. We are collectors. We hold on to treasures as well. There's one in particular. This is one of my babies.
Very nice.
The Cuda from Phantasm, signed by everyone.
Oh, that's cool.
Are there any certain items in your collection, something that is just treasured, that is your coup de grace, your pièce de résistance? God bless you. And items that you treasure, that you've collected over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I treasure anything that I've made. I mean, there's things I have around the room, like the headpiece that James McAvoy wore as Mr. Tumnus with the mechanical ears and all that stuff is sitting up there. But one of the things that's in my room that I really love, I have my original Stormtrooper blaster from 1977 I got for Christmas, and that's in my cabinet over there. And that was cool because, one, I mean, Star Wars was huge to me and is huge to me, and my parents knew that. So that Christmas, I got a Stormtrooper blaster. So before they, painted it white and orange and all that, it's a black blaster, and it's pretty gosh darn cool. And It doesn't work anymore, unfortunately. I left the batteries in it and it corroded. So it destroyed that mechanism, but it's still pretty darn cool. So I have a lot of cool things. I've got a lot of mementos, but that one I dig a lot just because it reminds me so much of my childhood.
Oh, fantastic. Marshall, you
I might have run
disappeared.
off to grab something.
So it wasn't a bathroom break.
No, I would be much longer for that one. No, I got this Chewbacca mug, right?
Nice.
Wow.
Because I love it, but also it has a story behind it, because it's got to be more than just stuff. So I went with just my mum on holiday to LA years and years ago. What year did Star Trek 4 come out? It was that year, because we went to see that. Was that 1980?
84? No.
83, 84? I think it was about that.
Mm.
So I guess I was 15 years old, and pre-internet, to collect stuff, it took quite a will. I used to go to a lot of conventions and things, and you'd often, it wasn't like there was all this chatter about stuff online, so it was a lot of things were just amazing discoveries. Like I would always find things that I never knew I always wanted, sort of thing, and then I would see it and it'd be like, oh my god, I got to have that. So when we got to the States, I found a Yellow Pages, and we found like the nearest collectible stores. And there was one, but it was like across the freeway. And my mum had never driven in America before, and so she was quite nervous about it. And I said, there's this place like 12 miles away, and it's a collector store, and I really, really want to go there. And so she said, all right, okay. And she drove me, and she was so nervous. She was sitting like this with her face right up against, the windscreen. And so she found this collector's store for me. And I went in there and I found this lovely fella. And this is like a Cali Originals Chewy mug from 1977. It was actually one of the first pieces of Star Wars merch produced. And actually, I've sort of searched it out online, and this is slightly different to the ones that everyone pictures. So I think that this might be a prototype. So not only is it like this beautiful thing, and I've really kept it, looking after it, also it sort of represents the lengths that my mum would do to kind of make me happy, and the lengths to which I was prepared to put her through to make me happy as well, which is less good. But later that day we went to see Star Trek 4 at the movies, and so that really was just like the most perfect day. So there you go.
Yeah. See, and that's what I think is part of it for fans and monster kids and collectors like that, is the nostalgia, the memories that carry forward with some of the items, the things that we treasure in the possessions and such. We're just fans ourselves. We're not particularly professionals. We're not involved in the industry. So to have the opportunity, we've known Sue and Del for quite a number of years. Alfonso had a very interesting interaction at Dark Delicacies. I love his story with Sid Haig.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. The first time I met him, he had a sign in front of him. Rest in peace to Sid Haig. He was awesome. He had a sign that said, "I'll take your newborn or cash." And I happened to have my newborn with him. So right before I get my poster sign, just hand him my baby. He said, "Come here, baby." And he just took him with me. So with memories like that, I got to meet Robert Englund there for the very first time. And they've just been great with us. So the fact that they allow us to help out for that book signing, which was amazing, by the way, the fact that you guys got all of them, like art, it was like a high school reunion. Everybody was handing over their books and having them get them signed. It was so cool to watch. I mean, everyone was so happy. Did you sign my book yet? Did you sign my book? I need your signature. I mean, it was such a fun event.
That was the best day. That was like my favorite day ever. I mean, not just like the trip. I mean, it's like that will be, that day will flash in front of my eyes while I'm lying bleeding to death in the gutter somewhere, which is how I've always assumed that I would go. That or being eaten by a shark. I don't know how that would happen, because anyway, I'm digressing. Yeah, that was a really amazing day, and you guys made the best video. The day after, Howard and I did a podcast, and the guy said, "Have you seen this video? It's Fonzo 13." And and we just sat watching it with just big goofy grins on our faces, because it was so cool, and you really captured exactly that sort of atmosphere. Everyone was so pleased to be there. Everyone who was coming to get stuff signed, everyone who was doing the signings, Del, because he made like a shitload of money, and I mean, it was just really, everybody was so cheerful, and it was so great. First time I got to meet like most of the contributors for the book. So yeah, it was super cool day.
That's why I was curious, because with the interviews and understanding how the book came to life during the pandemic, you both took the opportunity to reach out to people because they had time available. They were at home. and I imagine had gathered audio and video of those interactions. There's a lot more content that's there and involved. But seeing some of these people, I heard some of the comments of them. I haven't seen you since forever,
Right.
face to face, voice to voice. It kind of felt some normalcy of
Mm.
gathering and getting people together.
Well, I mean, I also think the fact that there's never been a gathering like that, you know, there were 22 contributors there, and that, you know, a lot of us don't get a chance to see each other. We just hit it at the right time that everybody was in town. And it was great. I mean, it was really fun. I hadn't seen a lot of those folk in quite a while. So it was really awesome. And you know, we keep getting our books on, like we just did Monster Palooza, Son of Monster Palooza, and got Steve Wang to sign our books because Steve wasn't able to make it to the other events. And then, you know, anything else coming up, I'm just always going to bring my book. Like I'm going to the Saturn Awards tomorrow night, and I'm going to bring our books because you never know who's going to be there. Like, well, you know, yeah, there's a handful of people that are going to be there, but and they sent me the list of everyone, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to get all these. So,
Linda Blair, Howard. Linda Blair.
yeah. She's not, oh, is she in the book though? I'm trying to think if is there a photo of her with Dick Smith?
I believe there was just
I'll take a look. Don't worry about it, Marsh. Don't worry about it.
I think that she was, you know, she surely has some great memories of Dick
Anyhow,
Smith.
I'm
Her name's
book.
got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, they are. I'm taking our books to the Saturn Awards tomorrow, and we'll get them. I'll get them signed by as many, you know, cool people as possible. So yes.
So my copy of Masters of Makeup Effects is living the life I've always wanted. It's going to all these cool places. I'm not going there, but Howard's taking the book.
Yes. The book is on
It's
it.
his
Yeah,
plus
the book
one.
is having a great time.
Well, we had the pleasure.
Time of its life.
Yeah, we had the pleasure showing it to Kevin Yeager, and he got so excited at HorrorCon Los Angeles, and he was like, "I haven't got my copy. Can I see that?" And immediately grabs it. He's so excited, starts looking, goes right to his page, and shows a picture of him working on a Yoda when he was like 18, 19, and he's showing it to the handler. It was so cool. I mean, everyone like, you know, that's part of it just loves it, and
Yeah,
it's such a unique book.
Kevin finally got his book.
Oh, okay, good. That's
That's great. I love it. So yeah, there's been a little bit of a lag from what we understand from the publishers actually getting our contributors their promised book. So but yes, Kevin got his, which was great. And, you know.
And as we understand, the first printing has already been sold out.
Yes.
They're working on the second printing at this point.
They are. Yeah, all the books in the US are sold out. They had to pull 1,000 books from the UK stash and ship them here to fulfill orders, you know. So that was really, really good. So, you know, and hopefully the UK books will sell out, and they'll do that too. The good thing about it getting a second printing is we found a couple little hiccups here and there, so we were able to remedy that. And the second edition will have some slightly different things, some corrections mostly, and then a couple little added things that Marshall and I wanted to put in there.
Well, you had hosted Marshall, of course, coming from the UK for this particular tour. Were there any post-traumatic nightmares from having Kurtzman when you used to live with him and leaving the bathroom in disarray? And
you mean me?
Or yes, are you still recovering from Marshall's visit when he was here?
Oh, Marshall is a great, great guest. So yeah, he living in the Welby Way house with Nicotero, Kurtzman, and another friend of ours, Dave Kinlan, which was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house in Reseda. It's a lot different. Marshall had his own bedroom and bathroom. We actually did a bunch of we redid the bathrooms before Marshall got here, not because of Marshall, but I wanted to, you know, make it really, really nice because I hated those bathrooms when we moved in, my wife and I, Miriam, and now they're great. So Marshall was the first one to try out that bathroom. So and
it was delightful, and I'm sorry for the terrible mess, and that you will have to remodel it again. But it was lovely.
All right.
When I arrived, it was gorgeous.
Right.
If you need
it was fun having Marshall there. Marshall is a great, great house guest, so it was wonderful.
It was fun, and we got to, you know, I mean, the first time we met was when I interviewed Howard for Narnia. And then the second time we met in the real world, Howard came to pick me up from the airport. I mean, you know, we hadn't really been, there were lots of things that I thought, you know, friends would do if they were like in the same city, you know, go to movies, go out for a drink, go out to eat, you know, watch RoboCop, pop, you know, on TV, and it's like he had that whole
And the
list.
thing
He
is, when
did
you're a
this.
visitor from elsewhere and you come to LA, you have to have somebody with you because it's such a huge city. You just can't like, oh, I'll just do this, I'll do this. You have to be with someone who knows where everything is and like, hey, today we're gonna go do this. Hey, today let's go do that. Let's go. So yeah, it was great and it was fun. You know, Marshall and I, the time Marshall was here, we did so much. Like we made a big giant itinerary, you know, and we went to the Magic Castle for dinner. Marshall and I did, and saw a couple magic shows, which were really fun. And yeah, went to a bunch of stores and you know Halloween Town. And
Oh, Halloween Town. Oh my God. I was so excited in Halloween Town. I was like nervous that I wouldn't get through the whole store in time before Howard and Miriam would get like, okay, Marshall, it's time to go now. So I just ran, although they gave me all the time, but I was running through like with a basket and it was like, okay, they said, can we help you find anything? I said, help me find everything, you know. The Dell store was also cool. I got a really cool kind of Chucky thing, you know. Howard, of course, worked on Child's Play, but I'm like, I've got to get this thing.
But it was great. And then, of course, you know, we had to go to Disneyland. So we,
of course,
my wife spent the day at Disneyland, and we went on everything. And you know, the second we walked into Galaxy's Edge, I videotaped it. Marshall was just like tears in his eyes. It was everything.
I was trying to be firm. But
yes,
you
you're
know,
never firm, from what I hear.
No. That's why I just have toys. It's just my lightsaber is always really solid.
Yeah, ready to go. And we went and bought lightsabers, and
so you did get your lightsabers then.
Nice.
Oh yeah, do you want to see my lightsaber? It's right here. Shall I show you my lightsaber?
Absolutely.
Is that your pickup line?
Yeah, that's his pickup line. It only worked once.
I don't have any pickup game
case and everything.
I think it only worked once. So Marshall's married to a very wonderful woman.
Oh,
here we go.
Wow.
Whoa. Nice.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Marshall's all set to become a you know.
Yeah, sorry, ladies, I'm taken. I know that's just going to be a heartbreak, but yeah, there you go.
Going back to the book really quick, the photos that you guys gathered, how fun was that for you guys to go through all those photos that you were getting just from, you know, their collection that nobody had ever shared before?
It was fun. I mean, you know, once after Marshall and I interviewed everyone and Marshall started transcribing everything and putting all the words together, you know, it gave me a better idea of what we needed from each person. Because listen, people have billions of photos, and we just needed to be specific. And that helped our contributors immensely, because then they were like, okay, Howard wants, you know, this from Shawshank Redemption and also wants this from Ozzy Osbourne, from Greg Canham. So it worked out really well. And as photos were coming in, I was amazed at what people were giving us access to. You know, like Kazu gave us unbelievable photos. You know, David White, who did the first Guardians of the Galaxy and 100 other things, gave us great photos. Nick Dudman, I mean, everybody gave us really amazing photos, you know, and it was very exciting. So looking through everything, it's great. It's some stuff I've never ever seen. You know, I mean, David White gave us photos of him on set of The Keep, which is that Michael Mann movie, and him doing the big creature thing. And I was like, holy shit, that's cool. Yeah. And he was working for Nick Maley at the time. And just saw a lot of stuff, you know. Nick Dudman on his first job working on Empire Strikes Back, standing there with young Daniel Parker getting a test Ewok dressed. You know, and Nick is like 18 years old, you know, and it's amazing. And then, I mean, I'm always shooting stuff. I've been shooting since the beginning of my career, you know, shooting photos, and I have, I mean, hundreds of thousands of photos, you know, first starting off on shooting Ektachrome, tons and tons of books, you know, of slides and all that good stuff. I mean, this is all stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like, this is, yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff. And like, these are Misery, all the slides from Misery from set. Ooh, Misery. But I mean,
Howard, I got a question for you. How come? Is it because you always liked movie books and with behind the scenes pictures, and that's why you always did it right from the start?
Yes. Yeah, I love behind the scenes. That's what's really, I love it. That's the magic. Like, I never understood, you know, when you have a still photographer on set and they're shooting. I mean, granted, they have to shoot the action, or, you know, especially back then. Nowadays, I feel like they seem like the studios at times will just pull frame grab. you know. But I love all the behind the scenes stuff, and I'm friends with a lot of still photographers. I admire them beyond belief. If I wasn't doing this, I would certainly gravitate to that because I just think that's a magical job.
Mm.
And there's some great sites on Instagram where a lot of my friends like Phil Bray and all and Justin Lieben have sites, and they post all their behind the scenes stuff. But yes, I have always collected behind the scenes books, you know, because I just think that's where the magic happens. Like, oh wow, look at that. So yeah, but also I just feel like, you know, Bob, Greg, and myself always had a camera around our neck when we were on set, and we all three of us were shooting. Greg usually was shooting video actually, and Bob and I would always have cameras around our necks and just shoot up. I mean, we have books and books and books of slides that we have scanned, most of them, and have on a hard drive. But and then, you know, then we shot a lot of photos, hundreds and thousands of photos that are in the file, and then now it's digital. So, but I shoot both. I have a lot of film cameras. I have medium size, and I've been shooting a lot of stuff in the shop that's black and white medium, and it looks really, really beautiful. And I dig it big time. And it has a different look to it, you know. But there's something about shooting film. It's magical when you take the film in and then you get it back and you see what worked and what didn't work. I like that a lot. I like that whole thing where instead of shooting like, you know, 30 shots on digital, and like, oh yeah, out of these, something's going to turn out, you know, something will be good. But yes.
That's like where you get the practical versus the digital effects, the
Absolutely.
practicality of it.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, you never know what you're going to get. So it's when you're shooting film and so forth.
And that's what is so appreciative and appealing to fans as ourselves, is these behind the scenes. A lot of individuals will find the deleted scenes or cuts or things that didn't make it that isn't out there. That's why this book is so magical, because you get to be a part of that. You get to see all what it took to put this magic on the screen that we've been enamored with since we were kids. Well, you, Marshall, were, and I love the photos at the beginning of the book, a model for Howard. And the makeup was just spectacular.
I was a natural fawn. Look at this blank canvas. You could literally turn me into anything.
Well, and so Howard, just a curiosity, with you yourself have played characters, you know, zombies and whatnot. Just from that perspective, how is it for you sitting in the chair versus standing in front of the chair in front of someone? I mean, I imagine at the house, the Welby house, you guys were playing and doing stuff with each other, practicing and putting makeup on and stuff. What is it like being the one in the chair receiving that makeup?
Well, I hate it. I hate having makeup on. I don't like it anymore. And I don't like having makeup applied or anything. I just don't like it. I don't know what it is. But, you know, I have done it in the past. I mean, in Day of the Dead, I was a zombie. In Night of the Creeps, I was a zombie. A lot of times I was played monsters. I played a lot of crazy stuff. I even doubled a little person for Tom Savini's episode of Tales from the Dark Side, the Halloween Candy. And because we had the little performer, the little person who was playing the goblin, and like I made a slip latex version of the sculpture I did for Tom. And in close-ups, I took a head Tom already had, and you know, took the skin off, resculpted it. We were doing this while we were on another movie, and Tom brought it, and I was doing it in my hotel room. And so I sculpted in the hotel room, molded it, and then when we got back to Tom's house, I ran all the foam and then glued it down to the mechanism. But I built it so that it would fit me, and I did all the close-up stuff. And you know, Tom put these giant, enormous glass contact lenses in, which I don't like having lenses in anyhow. So I just remember Greg sitting on top of me, holding me down, and Tom putting shot glasses into my eyes. Oh, it hurt so much. But I did all the close-ups for that. You know, nobody knows how to play a monster better than a monster maker, you know? I mean, we all did it as kids, you know, walking around thinking you're Godzilla or King Kong or Dracula or Creature of the Black Lagoon. So it's fun. I think, though, you know, I've been a gorilla a couple times and stuff. But nowadays, those days are long gone. I think you reach a certain age. It's probably you're pushing it like at 45, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. And not that I'm 45, believe me, I'm way older than that. But yeah, you know, it's like you had guys like Tom Woodruff Jr., you know, who played Pumpkinhead and the creature from the Black Lagoon and Monster Squad, and Tom and the Alien, played the Alien many times, the Xenomorph. But I think Tom's now at a point where he's done doing that, just because, you get older and it's harder and,
Yeah.
But look at Stellan Skarsgård. I mean,
Yeah.
he's almost 70, right? And
Yeah.
he's wearing that giant Baron
Right.
Harkonnen makeup.
Right,
That
yeah,
guy's
right.
obsessed with wearing makeup.
Yeah, he loves it. Yeah, some actors still like, no, they don't feel comfortable unless, not that he doesn't, but there are actors who want to have even like a nose tip or ears, like Glenn Close loves to always change up like a wig, and she always has Matthew Munkle like doing some sort of earpiece or nose tip or something, or whole nose. But yeah, some actors just love it. It helps them find the character and help disguise themselves. So it's always cool.
I imagine that gives you some sense of patience and care and concern working with those individuals, because you know what they're going through. And
100%. Yeah, you understand. I mean, you have to. For instance, I mean, let's take a look at like life casting. So I've had numerous life casts done on me, and I had a life cast. I had 2 done in a row. I did one just because we needed it, and then I did one, and I got myself psyched up to be claustrophobic, because I wanted to feel what that was like, so I could have more empathy for the person that we're doing a life cast on. And I really freaked myself out. I was like panicking like a mother, and it showed me how how it goes. So I handled things differently after that, and it's a different world now. So, but how we go about doing things is much easier. That was back in the days of like ice cold alginate that you mixed with ice water, and because the shit kicks so fast. Now we have silicones, and we even scan. We even do a lot of scanning now. But that doing that experience helped me understand the psychological aspect of freaking out during a life cast.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
it's a lot that goes into it.
A lot goes into it. Yes.
Like a lot went into this book, and
a lot went into this book. Yes.
Yeah, I think the appeal as well, and I don't know, Marshall, how you pulled this off with, of course,
transcripts and everything.
publishers and editors and people that want their hands involved in the mix, and yet giving carte blanche to the individuals involved, and also giving them editorial review, looking at their comments and being able to participate, not just tangibly with the photos and the insight, but how they're being contributed to the book. I don't know how you pulled that off.
Well, we were very lucky in that the people who contributed their photos also contributed their time, also contributed their stories, and beyond that have been turning up at signings and have been posting on social. It's like, once we get our hooks in, it's like it's just the favor train has left the station, and it's just like one thing after another they've been doing for us, and they've been like amazing, the things that people have done for us. We were also lucky in that our publishers pretty much left us to get on with it all themselves, and I'm not sure if that was because they trusted us, or they just didn't know what they were doing. But I don't want to like go on the 100% record and say what I think, but the important thing is that no matter what they did, they let us just fiddle and change. And even when they designed it, we would be, well, that's good, and look, here's just a list of 4,700 things that we would like to change about this one page. It's really good, but if you could change the pictures, if you change the position of them, if you could change the size of them, and like literally a million things. And that was so much fun, actually, because when we first got the pages and they weren't quite right, it was like, okay, well, we're going to really have to step in. And, it's not just a matter of we gave them the pictures, we gave them the words. It's like we're just way too micromanagey to just say, oh, yeah, that's good. You just go and do what you want. It's because, from the beginning, Howard and I really had an idea of what we wanted. And although we've not like had any book design classes, we've read a lot of movie books, and after what you like and what you don't like, and what looks right and what doesn't look right, and so we kind of had a real sense of that. So I have no idea if this is answering the question that you asked, but we had tremendous freedom, and they allowed us, just really they made every change that we asked for. And even with the words, when they edited the copy, and I spent a long time going through it all, and I edited 3/4 of it back the way it was. It was like, no, you don't get it, don't do this, don't do that. And it's like, and they just kind of went with all of it. It was sort of amazing. And it also got to the point when it was like, if this book sucks, we have no one to blame but ourselves. Like, literally, we couldn't put it on anyone else. We couldn't say, oh, well, you know, the design wasn't our fault or this wasn't our fault. It's like, literally, you know, and Howard got, you know, commissioning Graham Humphreys to do, you know, art for the inside. Well, we, you know, we weren't sure if it was going on the cover or the inside, but it was like, even there, I mean, Howard and I had a lot of discussions about what makeup should be included and stuff. And so before Graham even, you know, got started, you know, we'd spent ages deciding on, you know, the number of elements and what would be the biggest. And Graham even wanted us to do lists of like what should be, you know, biggest in the picture and stuff. And so it was like, we just, as Howard says, our fingerprints are on like every page in that book. And fortunately, people like it, so we don't have to blame our publisher. We can actually take full credit.
Nice. Well, I was a huge fan of the Crestwood house horror books. When I go home from school, the library, I gravitated those. I just love those, especially the Frankenstein versus Wolfman where he's choking him. I always love that picture. I was just fascinated by him. So I'm hoping this book is the same for kids, where it's like, Howard, I knew you always carried a book for you. Like you always call it was like your Bible. You read it through. Like to me, I'll be carrying it to every convention, try to add more signatures to it. So I hope this book becomes like that for the new generation, new aspiring artists. I hope they look at this and want, you know, because the one running theme I've noticed between you, all the special effect artists, you guys are such a great community. You guys are such good friends. You guys are always helping each other, and I love seeing that from the panel, from the stories Norman talked about. You guys living together, you know, and feeding off KFC and just like helping each other out. There, you guys are every different interview I always see. You guys are such a tight community, and I love hearing all those stories. I wish I would have been at that panel, but luckily Scott recorded it, and it was hearing such good stories about Steve and I just love that community. You guys are such great friends. You guys look out for each other and help each other. I just love hearing that. And the book looks, the book's a sign of it.
Yeah, it's important, you know, to be friends with everybody and work together, because we're all working towards the same common goal, which is to, you know, keep pushing the envelope regarding the world of practical, you know, makeup effects and coming up with cool things and sharing ideas and thoughts. Like nothing's a secret. No one ever says like, well, I can't tell you that because it's a secret, you know, how we did that. It's like, you know, there's, that just doesn't exist. I reach out to all my friends all the time and I'm like, hey, just so I have a question. How did this work and how did this work? You know, I mean, I remember we were doing a gag on Evil Dead 2 and I was working for Mark Shostrom, and it's when Cassie has the vines go into her face and all that stuff. But I knew we were going to shoot that in reverse. So I called Rick Baker, who had done the movie Squirm, and I asked, how did you do all the worms and all of that? And he walked through the entire thing, and I'm like, that's amazing. And I did the exact same way Rick did it, which was great, you know, which was like a vacuum form piece on her face and, you know, all this great stuff. So I wrote everything down as Rick was telling me on the phone, and then I just approached it the same way because I handled that gag for the movie. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, we all share stuff. And really the person who started it all was Dick Smith, who would always share everything.
Yes.
And I think we've all taken a cue from that. So nothing is a secret. And even, you know, people that are up and coming or want to get into this, reach out now because it's a lot easier because you have social media. And I try to answer as much as I can, you know, but I also have to feel out if people actually have the aptitude for this, you know, and it's really a matter of, you know, just talking to them at first and asking them to answer a couple questions, and then ultimately send some work. Let me see what you're up to, and that will tell me everything. You know, if this person's on the right track, or if they're kind of stumbling a little bit, or if they're just don't have it at all. You know, that's always a slightly difficult conversation. Like maybe, you know, this, you know, you can like it, but it doesn't mean you should be doing it. So, you know, but you don't want to crush anybody's dreams because they still, you know, dream. There's other aspects. You may not rise to the level of being a makeup artist on set or a designer, but you can certainly make a great life for yourself working in the shops as a mold maker, and because that's all extreme skill as well. Like you can have the best sculpture in the world, but if you don't have a good mold or a good mold maker, then it doesn't mean anything because you can't reproduce it. So every step of the way is super important. So, you know.
Oh, that's why Dustin Hoffman, I mean, years ago during one of the interviews, akined Dick Smith's procedures and his techniques to almost that of a surgeon. And I'm sure not many people are aware. I wasn't aware until recently that Dick only had a thumb and three fingers on his left hand.
Yeah, he was missing his hand.
Yeah, he said lost a finger in a film set that he was working on.
Yeah, this is actually a scan output of Dick's hand.
Oh wow!
So yeah, Dick
Oh.
he called it his Mickey Mouse hand.
Yeah.
And but he had it opposed to like having this. He
Mhm.
had this bone removed, so it then looked like this, and you just didn't. I mean, because if you just saw Dick's hand normal,
Right.
like that, I mean, in person, you would
Yeah.
never think that that was going to, there was something odd about it, just because, But yeah, he had that finger got ripped out on a film set
Oh,
by
wow.
accident.
I didn't know that. I didn't. I'm just discovering this now.
Yeah, his Mickey Mouse hand. Yeah, no, Dick was. I want to say it was Stepford Wives. Somebody will correct me, but he was on the set of Stepford Wives, and he was in the special effects trailer, and he went to leap off the back, and his wedding ring caught a little hook, and as he jumped off, it popped his finger, and he went into shock, but refused to admit he had to go to the hospital, and just wrapped his hand up. That towel was soaking with blood. My friend Cal Accord, who worked on Jaws as well, special effects guy, he was there when that happened, and he told me the story. And so Dick, finally, they got him to a hospital, and then Dick decided to have that bone removed and his hand compressed. And Dick always called it his Mickey Mouse hand.
And yet still be able to do that fine detail
Yeah.
and work with
Yeah, it
the
didn't
molds
stop.
and the sculpting and all that.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, just so impressive. But
Yeah,
I imagine
he's amazing. Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
I imagine there are certain protocols or procedures just for safety and care and
Oh.
concern, just watching out so certain issues don't occur or you don't have any mishaps. I would imagine on
Oh
set.
yeah, I mean, yeah, we're like the safest department on a
Mhm.
film. It's like when COVID hit, some strange reason, producers were like, "Well, we're very concerned about hair and makeup. Da 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 da. It has to be this." And it's like, this is what we do. We're all about hygiene and sterilization. I mean, if we weren't, we'd have actors that were sick all the time. I mean, that's a stupid thing. I would be more concerned about the grips who go to the bathroom and don't wash their hands and then go to craft service. And it's like, you guys are talking about the wrong department. Like, hair and makeup are well versed, and it's what we do. As a hairstylist, you have to be have a cosmetology license. So, but yeah, there's a tremendous amount of procedures. Like when we do contact lenses, we bring in a lens tech to do it because we want somebody who's specifically there to handle contact lenses. It's the actor's eyes. And there'll be times on movies where the production will try to cheap out, and they're like, "Well, can't you just do it?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to do it." "Oh, it's to really save us money." And then I go to the producer and I go, "So I want you to go tell the actor that their eyes aren't worth somebody's hourly rate. That they're that $40 an hour, their eyes aren't worth $40 an hour.
Yeah.
So if something happens to their eyes, you're okay with it because you wanted to save, $400. But you have to go tell the actor that, and then let's see what happens." And then that ends the conversation. And then but I rarely have to have that conversation. I'm just like, we're getting a lens tech end of discussion. So, and it's just easier. They maintain the lenses. They make sure the actor's eyes are always good, because you always have to like put wetting drops in, and we can't do that. We're in the middle of 400 other things. So it's just best to have a great lens tech with you on set, which, sometimes they don't quite understand.
But Gino had that funny story when he was a kid where he put some non-toxic paint when he was trying to make it him and his friends like kiss. And then like his friend says it's burning. He's like, "Oh, it's just taking effect. Don't worry about it." So later on during the day where they're all burning, he's like, "Yeah, we got to take this off." And they read the canister that says, "Do not put on skin." And they're like, "Whoops, lesson learned." So you don't,
Yeah, no, listen, I tried to do, when I was a kid, I tried to cheat, and I cast a friend of mine's face in plaster, and that didn't go well at all.
Are you guys still friends?
Yeah, it's all good.
He forgave you.
But yeah, it took out a lot of hair and just was burning the heat, because it's a chemical reaction as as it's setting, as plaster is setting, it gets super, super hot.
Mhm.
And that was a bad thing. So I tried to skip a couple of steps. That was a terrible idea.
So definitely, yeah, techniques, I imagine, and the technology of it all, and the makeups, prosthetics, the materials that you use definitely has changed over time, developed, become easier to work with, maybe, or
Just different. Just
Yeah.
just different. I mean, you find now that there's digital photography, things being shot in 4K. materials have to change. So like maybe in the past you would use a lot of foam rubber as your for your applications for your appliances. You know, you may use silicone, or you might use like the Prozade transfer stuff. It all depends. I look at a project and see what I think is going to be best for the project and for the character, and take a lot into consideration. I don't just go, oh, it should be silicone because that's the new thing to do.
Mhm.
I do a lot of foam rubber. I love foam rubber. Like everything on Orville, I think except for like 1 or 2 makeups, is foam rubber. You know, even on Oz the Great and Powerful, like Mila Kunis's witch makeup
Mhm.
started as silicone, and then I was having a lot of trouble with the silicone on Mila, and it would just break down very easily. And then in the middle of the show, I switched to foam rubber. You can never tell that when you're watching the movie, but foam became a way easier material to use on Mila. And since she was all green, I was able to get away with a lot of stuff.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Mhm.
And with going through and having the discussions, I know also some of the other interviews we looked at. Marshall, you had mentioned after that conversation when you were in the makeup about the book and then pursuing Howard for over 10 years of putting this together. Did you have certain individuals in mind, as of course an author and a film critic, and certain points of insight that when you did rally and did decide, okay, we're going to pull the trigger and get this book going, did you already have some people in mind or some individuals you wanted to approach to get involved?
No,
with
I had no idea. I just all my energy was into stalking Howard. I'm not even joking. It's like I thought, look, here's the makeup effects expert. God, you know, it's like he's going to know who to make a list of. It's like, you know, obviously, I mean, all the names that everybody knows. It's like yes, but no, my big idea was stalk Howard until he gives in or takes out a restraining order. That was it. That was like 100% of my focus. And it was like you know, in the Tweety and Sylvester cartoons, you know, it's like when Sylvester actually catches Tweety, he actually doesn't know what to do. So it was like when Howard said yes, it was like okay, we'll speak to you later. And it was like I had to go and think, okay, what now? It's like, okay, now we actually have to write a book, and it's okay. So it's like, so just fake it till you make it. You know, it's like start making a list. Let's do this. Let's do that, and then it, you know, and I may be exaggerating slightly, but not especially. I mean, you know, for a long time, I really knew that between us that we could write this great book, and but I suppose until we actually started it, my main focus was on just getting that, you know, was hooking that fish. And then once it happened, it was like it all just sort of came together. I mean, Howard agreed, you know, the time was right. And then we immediately just started like texting each other lists of who should do it and you know what we would cover and how we would break up the chapters. And it was like, you know, immediately, I mean, like really within an hour, I think we'd already started sending messages and we just like kept up that momentum the whole time. There was always something to do, but I suppose I just sort of hit the ground running and, you know, started thinking a little while after I was already, you know, on the path. It came together okay.
Because that took what, 4 or 5 months plus of interviews, a couple interviews a day, gathering up all the information. That was a lot of research.
It was well, yes. I mean, it was. We came at it from different sides as well. You know, Howard knew all these people. I mean, personally, and so he knew a lot of stuff to ask. He knew a lot of you know, avenues, and I would go through their filmographies and do research. And sometimes I would say, you know, well, why don't we ask something about that film or this film, or you know, like Howard would do the first run of questions, and they were great. And then I would just add, you know, kind of extra layers and stuff. Howard was so good at asking the right questions. It was just, you know, amazing. You know, as a journalist, most people, when you go to interview them, their default is to be a little bit wary of you because, you know, especially British journalists. I mean, I'm not like that. I'm not looking to stitch someone up. I'm not looking to get them to, you know, admit something and then, you know, kind of ruin them or anything. It's like my position has always been as a fan and wanting to celebrate things. But a lot of people are very wary of journalists. And so you know, when I was doing these interviews with Howard, nobody had any suspicion. You know, everybody was like super relaxed and friendly, and it was just, you know, everybody was very chatty, and we were never in a hurry. You know, we had at least 2 hours for everybody. We were never in a hurry to just get into the interview. So everybody was just, it was just like a really friendly chat, which is why I think, apart from us getting great stories, the tone of all the interviews are very sort of relaxed and friendly and open, and because it just feels like friends talking, and that's what we really wanted to capture, you know, in the book, that you would just feel like you were hanging out with these guys, and they were just telling you funny stories that they would if you went out for dinner with them, and those are the things that you would remember. We just included all the stuff that made us smile, or you know, that we thought were fascinating. But yeah, it did all come together.
It definitely satisfies a lot of the fans, because that's when we get together, when Monster Palooza, Son of Monster Palooza, any of the gatherings, we have the opportunity to meet individuals like yourselves. Well, we have time, we'll sit at the tables and ask her, you know, those questions. What was it like? What do you think? How was that experience for them? Just trying to understand the whole process. This book is excellent in providing a lot of that insight, and you know, more conversation spawned between the fans, or, oh, I never knew that, or that find that fascinating and interesting, that that's the perspective of where they come from, because you gathered not just other makeup artists, but also the actors and people. You gain so many different perspectives regarding the entire industry itself. And so that's what the appreciative point from a fan's perspective when reading the book. Thank you for putting that information in that format.
Well, they're all fans, you know, all the makeup guys, they're all huge fans themselves. And that's, I think, what sets them apart from a lot of other disciplines. Not that I'm saying, I think everybody that's in film is in film because, you know, they love it to a certain extent. But the thing about makeup artists is that they really are just like us. They just happen to also work in the industry. You know, they're also collectors, and they were in their bedrooms making masks, and, you know, they can totally relate to fans and fandom. So you know, they're just that much more kind of open about it. And I think between Howard's perspective as a fan and an insider, and my perspective as a fan, and with somebody who spent his whole life pressed up against the glass, you know, kind of, I think between us we sort of covered, you know, everything that perhaps most people would want to know. You know, like the things that I didn't know that I was curious about, the things that Howard knew that would be good to ask. And, you know, between those two things, I guess we made a pretty good team, Howard. I guess it worked out pretty well, you know.
Okay.
Now I come to think of it, hell, we're hot shit.
Just patched us on the back. You guys did a good job.
Not too
That was
bad,
my
not too
favorite
bad.
part, is finding out where everyone's love, how it started. You know, like for example, Norman Carell's Quasimodo. He loved that prosthetic, right? So he just the fascination of like how they were just fascinated how like they couldn't see the lines, or just even the regular skin makeup. Some people didn't like monsters. I'm forgetting the name of one of them. Said he didn't, was it a real big monster kid, but he liked the human skin and the wrinkles, and he mentioned that in the book, how he was fascinated by that. So there's different aspects, not just monsters, but also like Max von Sydow. I didn't know he was younger watching Dexter the first time. Didn't realize he was that young, and I was like, he did an amazing job, right? Where he said make wrinkles look like wrinkles, you know. And I love the fact that, like you said, people are coming up to you, Howard, asking for advice. So you're essentially now the Stan Winston, where how he was to you. Now you've become the Stan Winston, and how you got to go to a studio, and he told you keep your grades up. I mean, how cool was that? I mean, that you look back at it now, like how amazing that you were able to do stuff like that. And I'm hoping this book does that now again, like, you know, for the new generation.
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, it seems to be becoming a kind of a staple in all makeup students' lives, and also a lot of, you know, a tremendous amount of professionals are really enjoying it. A friend of mine was on set, an actor, and he saw somebody had a makeup artist had the book with their makeup kit on set.
Oh, nice.
Took a photo and sent it to me. He's like, "Hey, look what I saw on set today," and I was like, "That's really cool."
That's awesome.
Yeah, things like that. And, you know, going to the bookstore and seeing the book on the shelves is
That's
really cool.
Absolutely.
Getting an email from, you know, a bookstore in Ireland going, "We sold out day one, so we have to order more in," you know. It's really nice, you know. So it was great, you know. And we hit it at the right time. I think this time of year was great. The fact that Marshall and I pretty much single-handedly did all the publicity for it, and
was
really
gonna
like
say,
got
yeah.
it out there, and made T-shirts like you guys have, and handing shirts out, and
Thank you for that.
everything, and stickers, and just trying to promote it as much as we can, and knowing who was going to dig this book. And aside from it just being a great book for makeup aficionados, it's a great film history book,
Yes.
because we just don't talk to makeup artists. We talk to actors, we talk to directors, VFX supervisors, editors, film editors. So it has a very wide net. It's cast a very wide net in terms of who we spoke to, and seeing what their thoughts are. I mean, hopefully volume 2 will have even more of that. Our list is very, very grand, and we'll see who we can get, and who will has a couple hours. It's going to be more difficult because we're all working now. It's like I'm heading out on the road in January for about 6 months to do a film, and I'll have to figure out with Marshall, like, it'll probably be a weekend job. I'll spend the weekend with Marshall on the phone or on Zoom doing interviews and going through stuff and so forth and so on, and everybody else is working too. So it's just a matter of trying to coordinate who those people will be and when it's convenient for them, and we'll have to see what we can wrangle up. So
Howard, I'll teach you about stalking. You just have to keep at it, and
I know
eventually, yes.
I'm well versed. Yeah.
Marshall's
That's
read
true.
a few books over the years, and
Yes.
yeah, he's like you, honed and refined his technique, so he's getting better as the years go by. I had just a couple of quick questions before we wrap up. And so I'm just thinking about your vast array. I mean, your IMDb is like in more than all the items behind Marshall added up combined.
That's a lot. He's got some on the ceiling too, though. So,
oh, well, that's true. He does have some on
There-
the.
see,
Oh,
there
there
it
you go.
is.
Oh,
Told you.
wow.
it's amazing.
No, amazing stroke, terrifying stroke. All the men in white coats.
So, in having those different movies you worked on, different series, different shows, such a venue from going horror to comedy to, what do you think was part of some of the contributions of, well, how do I say, your skill set? Because you're an artist, you draw, you sculpt, you make up. I heard you say on one of Stan Winston's, I believe the master school, that practice, practice, practice. You think is that part of it's just you just dive into it and figure it out and do it, or
Yeah.
is there some practical aspect? Do you have you? Oh, let
Well,
me.
I mean, I mean, that's my generation just jumped in and did it. It's some of the requests I get always surprise me. People are like, so now, thinking like there's a magic word, that will get you into this or whatever. It's not. Just you have to just do it and work. And as far as practicing goes, I'm hard on myself, and I feel like I could practice more myself. I've been kind of a little, I don't want to say lazy, but a little negligent in keeping my skills up as of late, which frustrates me. But you just got to do it. I mean, I've had this conversation with people all the time, and I'm like, just do it. Well, should I do this, or I should, a sculpting tool is not, one specific sculpting tool is not going to make you great. I mean, I was talking to Michael Ritola, who works here and who's also in the book, Mikey Rotz, on Instagram. And Mike said people will reach out and it's like, so should I use this tool or that tool? He's like, use whatever, use a block of wood. Who cares? As long as you're able to utilize it somehow. And that's very, very true. And you just got to jump in. But it's a scary thing. I get it. I'm the same way. I'm like, it's super hard to start something. And when you do, though, it flies. Like I'll procrastinate sometimes. I'll have like I want to do something at home. And I've got a head there. And I'm like, I got clay. I got everything I need. And I'm just like, okay. And I'm just kind of apprehensive. But once I get into it, I fly like the wind. I can knock a sculpture out pretty gosh darn fast. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty easy. But it's just that starting, the starting is hard. And you're like, am I going to fail? You start thinking too ahead. You start getting in your head and you start thinking about when it's done. And you're like, stop thinking, just do this. Mitch Devane, who's an amazing artist and sculptor in our business, always said, just don't think about what you're doing. It'll just happen. It'll just come together. And I really had to fight that. And I still do. I have to stop thinking. When I do a makeup on set, I do that. I don't think about it. I just know, I know my steps and I go through it, and then at the end it's done, and I'm like, oh, that turned out pretty good. But I don't sit there and lament about it, like, okay, I mean, the first day I do, and the day before, I'm always like, I run through the process in my head 400 times, and I write it up and make sure that I'm not missing a step, and so that it all goes. But after a while, it just becomes like riding a bike, and I can just like ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. So, I just need to focus a little bit more on, like, my wife, Mariam, is a fine artist, and she's always like, instead of looking at Instagram, maybe you want to draw. And I'm like, you're probably right. So, and then I'll go get the sketch pad and sit down and draw. And I'm like, that was much more fun than looking at Instagram. So, you find things to deviate your mind from. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just jump in and do it. Like, there's no magic word that's gonna give you the answer of, like, how do I become a makeup effects artist? I don't know. Just do it. See if you're good at it. There you go.
And that's why this book is an excellent point of inspiration. And I love the fact that Alfonso pointed that out, that this could be leading the next generation. As you guys have mentioned in other interviews, that getting a little older, and there's so much horsepower that's going on, and what you're involved in. It's great to see some of the newer artists up and coming, people that they're embracing and carrying this technique forward. So that's why this book is a treasure, because I believe it's a point that people can see, but also be inspired by.
We hope so. I mean,
I hope so.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of stories in our book are about other books that people have treasured, not just Making a Monster, but also Robert Englund talks about a book that inspired him when he was very young. And so it's not just films, it's books about films. So I mean, the thought of actually having created something that people will have and treasure on their shelves, that will inspire them, and whether it's to become journalists or filmmakers themselves, then that is incredibly special. And I mean, honestly, all joking aside, that is just the ultimate goal, to create something that will actually have legs, that people actually value. And you guys are have been amazing and supportive and very complimentary, and you make us feel like we did a good job, like we actually we actually achieved what we set out to achieve. So thank you.
Oh no, you guys did a lot of hard work and a lot of time, put it together. So it was our pleasure. I mean, absolutely. Just the fact that we got to work there with Sue and Dale, and help out with that event. I mean, the line was out the door.
It was a fun day. That was a really fun day.
Absolutely.
What's that?
Sorry we weren't able to make some of the other events. We live down in San Diego.
Oh yeah. No, don't worry about it.
But there's still an upcoming list on your website of events for you going to now meet up with you guys together in the UK. It looks like.
Yeah.
Well, more of the book tour coming.
Right. I'm doing an event this coming Sunday, October 30th at Valley Relic Museum. So that should be fun. Tommy, who owns that place, has been gracious enough to. I'm going to go do a talk and have a nice slideshow and all that fun stuff, some cool stuff, and then a book signing. And I think there'll be a couple contributors. I will be there hopefully. And then then I get to go visit Marshall in London town, and we have an event on November 13th, which is a Sunday at Forbidden Planet bookstore, which is super exciting because I love that place and that was a dream to have it there. And then
that's going to be fun. Howard's going to do another big makeup on me, a really sort of a big elaborate alien makeup, but he'll still be wearing glasses.
Yeah, for some stupid reason, I said, "Oh yeah, I'll do a demo," and then I shipped everything. And then I'm thinking like, "Oh," and then Nick Dedman's going to be there, and Barry Gower's going to be there. I'm like, "Why am I doing a makeup?" And those guys are there because they're way better than me. So, but maybe I'll just all of us will go up and put our hands on Marshall, and everybody has to apply something. I think that's what I'm going to do. If they're
that'll work great.
Come on, everybody grab a brush and we'll knock it out. That'd be super fun.
It'd be like the cover of the book with the different faces.
Yeah. There you go. Everybody just do whatever you want. So, and then so that's November 13th at Forbidden Planet, and then we have a fun event at the Fulham Picture House.
Right. In Chelsea.
In Chelsea.
On the 15th in the evening, we're going to have a screening of From Dusk Till Dawn, which is a classic KMB movie. And Howard is in it as the vampire who bites Tom Savini. He's there. And so we're going to talk about that, talk about the book. watch the movie, have a few laughs, sign the book, sell some merch. You know, it'd be a good time for everybody, I hope.
Absolutely, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate the photos that you posted on Facebook, individuals holding the book and
Yeah, it's
their
cool.
approval and such.
Mhm.
And also on your website, uh, having merch that's there and available, like the shirts and things.
Mhm.
Scott, what's the address of that website? I forget sometimes. What do people
You
want to know?
forget sometimes.
Can anyone remember?
Possibly mastersofmakeupeffects.net. Would that?
Yeah, it's
sound familiar?
mastersofmakeupeffects.net. Yeah,
Right.
okay, I remember.
I've
Thanks,
heard
Scott.
about
I
that
appreciate that.
before.
And
That's,
yeah, there's tons of stuff, great stuff that a lot of news stuff. But yeah, all our merch stuff that's made by our buddy John Hernandez at Funky Monkey prints all that and has been a great supporter as well. And he's amazing, and I love every little thing he's done for us. Like the shirts are cool. I love the weight of the shirts. All the posters, the buttons, you name it.
You have a coffee mug
so
too.
much good stuff. Yeah, it's great, and he's a great dude. Great
Yeah.
dude. So
We'll put that description.
Amazing.
Put that
Literally
link.
everything I wear now is made by John, or I'm not interested. He's my costumier. It's like
Yeah,
he's
he's
just
your
I keep
dresser.
continually get new T-shirts and stuff from
he's your
him.
dresser.
It's like, John, where are my Masters of Makeup Effects underpants and socks? Because I don't want to wear anything unless it's funky.
Well, see, now you're saying that, and now he's going to listen to this, and you're going to end up with a pair of socks and underwear.
He's 100% going to do that.
Yeah.
I know he will. I know.
You know, that's why I mentioned it, because I want them.
There you go.
I don't know if they have them in the UK, but we had them as growing up as kids. They called them underoos, where we could have different costumes and stuff. Maybe we can have a book underoo that
Good. We could do
wear and such.
underoos like that.
No,
Yeah.
I was horribly deprived as a child and didn't have underoos, but
Oh.
I'm hoping that let's have some Funky Monkey Star Wars underoos and some
Yeah, there you
Makeup
go.
Masters underoos. Yeah.
Well, the time is definitely appreciated. We're making sure we're going to put that out there. Alfonso, I had the privilege to be at Son of Monster Palooza. Thank you, Howard, for your time and the questions. Excellent MC, by the way.
Mhm.
So with that video, people get to see some of the questions you asked of Steve Wang and, of
Stephen
course,
Prouty.
Norman and Stephen Prouty and such.
Right. Yeah.
All of this has been a wonderful adventure. It's actually been a treasure for us,
Absolutely.
having the opportunity to speak with you. And so
Our
hopefully,
pleasure.
just by some of the insight and you guys putting the word out there, Alfonso's subscribers jumped up over like 100 and some odd people in less than 25 days. So it shows.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah,
Well,
so
when this
appreciate
comes
that.
out,
Thank you.
we'll post some more, and then more and more people will run. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And
No,
all of your videos we're putting on our official website, which is, I think, mastersofmakeupeffects.net, if I'm correct. And
Yeah.
you're on our press page. We just like so much of you guys are all over the website too. I just added some stuff today, and this is going to go on there.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
this is like Heckle and Jekyll or
Beavis and
Statler
Butthead.
and Waldorf. We just like the two of you. We'd love to spend the time together, and this has been.
It's been amazing. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
we can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
Well, thank you
guys.
for having us on. It was really fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Where can people find you online if they want to follow you? And then we'll obviously put the website on the description of this video. So
I'm on Instagram. I'm hoops511, so HOOPS 511, and then Marshall's got like 400 websites.
But mainly Twitter. That's my digital home, away from home. So at Marshall Julius. No crazy nicknames or anything. Just at Marshall Julius.
I thought it was FBI.gov, Interpol.it.
Yeah.
No, not those sites.
Those are a few of the other sites that Howard is just referring to. But yeah, the ones in which I can reveal my true identity is just at Marshall Julius.
okay. Well, Howard, one last question. You made a seafood boil dinner for New Year's last year. What will you be making this year?
Same.
Okay.
Doing the seafood boil again.
Nice. Can't go wrong.
Yeah. But right now I'm planning Thanksgiving because I've got a bunch of friends in from New Zealand
Oh,
who are
nice.
going to be in town. So we're doing a giant Thanksgiving at the house with I think like 7 or 8 Kiwis, and should be good. So yes, it's that. I'm looking forward to that. But yes, I'll be doing the seafood boil. Maybe this year, Tammy Lane won't negate my invitation. Her and her partner Jackie, and they'll actually come, so that way I don't have to eat all of it myself. Right? So, yes.
Of course, you need your right hand there. You know, need her
Of
to
course.
do the
Yeah,
editing.
yeah. I asked her like 3 months ago. I'm like, I'm gonna do the seafood boil. You better be there. And she's like, I won't make the same mistake. I'll be there. Yeah.
Tammy's great. I love Tammy. She actually helped apply the makeup, my big brain makeup. So I've already had 2 Oscar-winning makeup effects artists working on me. So that's why I want Forbidden Planet. It's got to be everybody. It's
Yeah,
just
we'll
got to
have
be an
everybody.
orgy of makeup.
Yeah, we'll have everybody. Yeah. So, yes.
Well, thank you, thank you,
All right,
thank
guys.
you.
Absolutely.
We
Thank
truly
you so much.
appreciate this.
This was so
My
much fun.
pleasure.
Yeah,
We'll talk to you guys soon.
Anytime.
absolutely.